Tonight on the Northwestern News Report, Northwestern threatens disciplinary action against students who participated in yesterday's walkout and picket for Gaza.
And how different communities mourned the anniversary of the October 7th terrorist attacks and the start of the Israel-Hamas War.
Plus, we give a demographics breakdown for the first freshman class admitted post-affirmative action strikedown.
Those stories and more tonight on the Northwestern News Report.
It's your news right now.
We begin tonight with some breaking news. The university is threatening disciplinary action against students who protested on campus yesterday as part of a walkout and picket for Gaza. Northwestern spokesperson John Yates told NNN last night that the demonstration violated multiple university policies and that there will be, quote, disciplinary consequences. Yates also saying that Northwestern has already begun an investigation to determine the identities of those who violated the policies. Identified students will be notified by the university. These violations are against Northwestern's new demonstration policy, released last spring following the encampment on Deering Meadow. The policy states that on weekdays, demonstrations at the Rock cannot occur until after 3 p.m., and amplified sound is prohibited until after 5 p.m. Both rules were violated yesterday, which the university says, quote, disrupted classes. Northwestern also says it issued several warnings, reiterating to protesters that they were breaking policy and ultimately threatening suspension. The purpose of the protest was to come together in solidarity over the lives lost in the Middle East and continue calls for Northwestern divestment from Israel. The walkout happening on the one-year anniversary of the October 7th terrorist attacks and the start of the Israel-Hamas War. NNN's Lance Wilhelm was at the scene yesterday during the protest. Lance, lay out exactly what happened.
Yeah, Ellie, I'm here at the Rock, where the walkout started at 1 p.m. yesterday. And right away, right on the dot at 1 p.m., in fact, Northwestern University officials walked up to student protesters and informed them that if they were to continue with their plans to protest, that they would be in violation of Northwestern's new policy surrounding demonstrations that we talked about. Now, obviously, a lot of those protesters chose to ignore that initial warning, and this is where they stayed for the majority of the walkout. They sort of formed a circle in this plaza here. They did chants, spoke on the megaphone a little bit. Pretty typical to what we're used to seeing with these protests. And I do want to note that even though they were here and they were taking up a lot of space, they were not blocking the entrances or exits to the plaza. They were not blocking the entrances or exits to the buildings you see around me. Students were able to walk freely in between this area to and from class. The protest was not at all obstructive in that way, certainly as far as I saw. And this is where the protest stayed until about 2:30, and that's when the university informed protesters that if they were to stay, they would be under threat of suspension. The walkout then moved over to Centennial Park, just off campus. Now, I do want to note that even though there were several tense moments here, especially between protesters and counter-protesters, there was never a physical altercation. There was never a violent escalation of the situation here. Ultimately, everything remained very peaceful. Ellie.
Thank you, Lance. NNN asked the university for clarification on what these disciplinary actions will exactly be and what the time looks like for that. We have yet to hear back.
On Sunday, Northwestern's chapter for Jewish Voice for Peace gathered to partake in a tashlich, a ritual of casting away sins during Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. I was at the ceremony. Here's what I found out.
Jewish Voice for Peace gathered on Sunday for tashlich, honoring the loss of lives this past year.
What is so important right now today and in the year ahead is to grieve, to feel, to mourn for the dead, but then also to fight like hell for the living, to make sure that the genocide that we're seeing right now will come to an end.
The ceremony, an act of casting off sins, is done by a body of water. JVP is a student organization aimed at, quote, demanding an end to Zionist settler colonialism. Students reflecting on their emotions a year from the October 7th terrorist attacks and the war in Gaza.
The anger, the fear, the grief, the shame, all of that is there, but what's important is how we act on it moving forward.
JVP said its goal is to create a new type of Jewish community on campus.
It is just about understanding that our Judaism cannot and should not be together and should not be fused with the support of a modern nation state of Israel that is committing this crime of genocide, this crime of apartheid.
Tashlich comes between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Looking to the new year, it's a moment of reflection.
And throughout this week, some students will be attending NU Disorientation Week, a series of events aimed at raising awareness for, quote, what Northwestern won't teach students. The programming is centered around discussing topics related to past Northwestern protests, supporting last spring's encampment and the current pro-Palestinian movement on campus. It is hosted in collaboration with organizations like Fossil Free NU, ASG Sustainability Committee, and Northwestern Students for Justice in Palestine. The events will continue through Sunday in university buildings.
Last night, Hillel invited the Northwestern community to honor the lives lost in the October 7th terrorist attack in the Israel-Hamas War. I was at the vigil, and here's how it went.
I was with my mother, my protector, who did everything she could to keep me alive while we were in Hamas's captivity.
Members of the Northwestern community gathered on Deering Meadow, taking part in a candlelight vigil a year after the October 7th Hamas-led attack on Israel.
During the ceremony and vigil tonight, I felt really sad and certainly in a state of mourning, because every day since October 7th, 2023 has been really sad and difficult and devastating.
Organizers led the crowd in song and prayer. Throughout the event, speakers shared poems, stories, and messages from victims of the October 7th attack,
before the light they brought,
and remembered the hostages still kept by Hamas. Speaker Or Yahalom said when her father was 6 years old, her grandfather volunteered to defend Israel. He was killed in a bombing on October 11th, 1973.
I share my story because of how this long, complicated conflict has affected my family firsthand, because I want to remind people of humanity. These people are not numbers.
People were invited to take candles, Israeli flags, yellow ribbons, and red flowers during the vigil. Attendees saying that this year has been difficult for them.
The event ended with an open dialogue to memorialize those who had fallen victim to the attack. Organizers say they hope this day of remembrance will bring the Jewish community on campus together in hopes of bringing those still hostage home. After the break, NNN's Victoria Ryan will join us in studio for a breakdown of Northwestern's first class admitted post the Supreme Court's affirmative action strike down. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. This month, the Evanston Public Library is working to connect Northwestern students and the Evanston community with local Latino-owned businesses through their Hispanic Heritage Month programming. NNN's Emmanuel Perez has more on the story.
Running from September 15th to October 15th, locals can pick up a bingo punch card of local Hispanic and Latino-owned businesses from the Evanston Public Libraries.
We have a list of Evanston or Latino-owned businesses in Evanston. There's a question, and then there's a little white space there. So you can just ask them. They give you the answer. You write it down. They give you a little stamp or a little signature.
The purpose of this initiative is to bring together people from underrepresented communities across Evanston.
Just seeing some more Hispanic businesses would bring me closer to home.
Not only is the library connecting the greater Evanston area with Latino-owned businesses, but the initiative is bringing some Hispanic Northwestern students a feel of home away from home.
It's very difficult to thrive in a community where your people aren't really there, right? So by them giving resources and at least putting an effort into bringing diversity out, I think it's a very good thing.
The purpose of this initiative is to bring together people from underrepresented communities across Evanston.
And they're all over Evanston. So if you're a student and you're new and you're not sure where to go eat, or you're just you're just not sure where to go in Evanston, they're all over.
In Evanston, Emmanuel Perez, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Emmanuel. And don't worry, Evanstonians still have a chance to participate in the business bingo game. You pick up a bunch of cards at the Evanston Public Library.
Northwestern disbanded the free 201 venture program this school year, leaving students to instead rely solely on Northwestern Shuttle Services. The two available are the Inner Campus and Loop Shuttle. The Inner Campus connects the Evanston and Chicago campuses, running from 6:35 a.m. through 11:10 p.m. every weekday. The shuttle has 12 stops traveling from Chicago to Evanston and 18 stops traveling from Evanston to Chicago. Now, this hasn't changed from last year. What has changed is the newly created Loop Shuttle, which has replaced the Evanston Loop and Campus Loop this year. The new shuttle has one route that flows in both directions, transporting students around the Evanston campus and into downtown Evanston. But the shuttle only operates between 6 p.m. and 1 a.m. Undergraduate and graduate students, as well as professors and other faculty, can utilize these services with a tap of their wildcards. Students can track shuttle arrivals and schedules on the TripShot app.
Last week, the university released a demographic breakdown of the new freshman class, which is the first to be admitted after the Supreme Court ruling against affirmative action. NNN's Victoria Ryan is in the studio to break down the demographics for us. Victoria, has Northwestern seen any changes?
Thanks, Ellie. A few short weeks ago, over 2,100 new first years and over 250 transfer students marched through the arch to begin their Northwestern journey. Let's take a look at the preliminary numbers released by NU. This class hails from all 50 states and Puerto Rico and 90 different countries on 6 continents. The class also broke a school record with 13% of the cohort being international students. There are also a record number of low-income students in this class, with 22% being Pell eligible, and a record high number of applicants admitted through the QuestBridge and Posse Scholars programs. Now, it is important to note that the 2023-24 admission cycle marked the first time since the June 2023 Supreme Court ruling that struck down race-conscious admissions, or affirmative action. Other top universities saw a decline in minority representation on campus. Brown, for instance, reported that 18% of first years came from underrepresented groups, down from 27% in 2023. Northwestern's incoming class, however, had the same, if not higher, percentages of underrepresented communities. The class of 2028 saw a slight increase in the percentage of Black or African American, Hispanic and Latinx, and first-generation students. African American students increased to 15.4%, Hispanic and Latinx students had a slight increase to 17.5%, and first-generation students jumped up to 16% from 14.6% last year. Northwestern also said in the press release that they, quote, intensified their commitment to supporting students applying from rural and small-town America as a founding member of the Small Town and Rural Students, or STARS, college network. These numbers will be finalized in the coming days and re-released, but for now, the class of 2028 and transfers' first year on campus is underway. Back to you.
Thanks, Victoria, and welcome to campus, class of 2028 and transfers.
You might have noticed new construction as you got back to campus this year. It's hard to miss. Construction officially began on Norris's East Lawn back in April. Improvements will include a plaza, pavilion, and pub serving up alcoholic drinks. Corbin Smythe, Executive Director of Norris University Center, says construction should be completed by spring 2025. Here's what he had to say on the pub's edition of alcohol, which has not been sold on campus in over 30 years.
This is really kind of an unmet need, and it's going to bring this common ground where faculty, staff, and students, upper-class students and graduate students, will be able to share experiences together.
In the studio now is NNN's Sabrina Carson, who's been keeping track of all of this. Sabrina, Norris University Center isn't the only on-campus construction project. Tell us what else is going on.
Well, the Ryan Field is currently under construction as well, and the Lakefront Field will be in use until November of 2025. Deering Library is also under construction right now and will be open to the public in the fall of 2025. The Allen Center, as can be seen in Section 5, will be permanently closed in November of 2024 following the addition of a new Kellogg Education Center. The pedestrian pathway will be closed until fall of 2027. And finally, Lakeville improvements, which can be seen in both Sections 4, will introduce a new bridge and a new wave wall. This should protect from shoreline erosion due to record high lake levels.
Thank you, Sabrina. I'm excited to see the final outcome. Coming up, a peek into the field hockey season so far. We talked to the number 2 ranked NU.
Welcome back. You know, my favorite spot in Evanston is Lighthouse Beach, and right next door to that is quite the mysterious building. But the Harley Clark Mansion doors could be swinging open soon. NNN's Allison Miller spoke with stakeholders to hear their perspective on this possibility.
Evanston's Harley Clark Mansion has sat vacant for nearly a decade. Now, 3 developers will have the chance to revitalize the historic building.
Charles Smith has worked to preserve the mansion's landscape and grounds for 5 years.
Where the city is now, they would like to not have to think about it.
Smith has taken part in several lease negotiations for the property. The most recent deal fell through last year. He now hopes the city will select a developer that can minimize project risk while protecting natural spaces.
The development of a community leans toward asphalt and concrete.
2 proposals come from development and architectural firms. Both developers plan to divide the mansion between private and public use.
I think that would probably be like the best of both worlds.
The final bidding group is a non-profit organization based around the mansion's restoration. It has submitted proposals in the past and hopes to create a community space that limits private use.
Our main effort is to provide functions and events and community gathering spaces and opportunities.
Even though Evanston residents are split on how to divide the mansion between community and commercial development, they agree the new proposals should incorporate public use.
Something for the community, by the community, would be fantastic.
The City Council is expected to select one of the proposals next week at its October 14th meeting. In Evanston, Allison Miller, Northwestern News Network.
Thank you, Allison. And in a rare decision, the city has released 3 proposals for the public to review. Those interested can find the documents on the city website.
Moving out of Evanston and onto the national stage, Vice Presidential candidate Senator J.D. Vance and Governor Tim Walz debated last Tuesday. Students and faculty hosted watch parties throughout campus. NNN's Bridget Aduadier went to one of them and talked to some students about what they thought about the debate.
Students hanging on every word last Tuesday as they watched the showdown between vice presidential candidates J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. Over 50 students gathered in CRC, the Communications Residential College on campus, to watch.
Getting them their eyes on these issues motivates voting, which I think is really important.
Attendees said it was tough to say who won.
I mean, both sides did well, which is, I think, a good sign for the country.
Some students say Vance and Walz were more civil towards each other, a stark contrast from the previous debate on September 10th.
And you had 2 candidates who, although they disagreed, they generally did respect each other.
Medill Professor Emeritus Roger Boy, who helped organize the watch party, says he hopes students will be more educated about the candidates.
If it's your first election, you want to be as informed as you can about the candidates when you go to vote for the first time.
There isn't another debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris scheduled. Harris agreed to another matchup, but Trump refused, meaning it's a last opportunity to tune in with snacks and a few laughs and gasps. Hearing out both campaigns. Bridget Aduadier, Northwestern News Network.
Bridget, thank you. The election is just 27 days away, and NNN will have full coverage of election night live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Be sure to tune in.
But before you sink in to watch election coverage unfold, this might be a good week to get off the couch. NNN's new chief meteorologist, Emmanuel Perez, is here to give us a weather update. And Emmanuel, is it true that we are in for some sunny skies?
Yes. For our southwest viewing region, we have a high pressure system that is bringing clear skies and a fresh breeze from the west. Later on tonight, this cold front will come down and then it'll cool down our temperatures. For today's weather, we had a high of 71 and a low of 49. Currently, it is clear and 65 degrees. It'll be clear and it will remain in the lower 60s and into the high 50s into the Monday or Wednesday morning. Locally, for precipitation, it is clear and it'll remain clear for the rest of the week. For our temperatures, we have 67 degrees in Evanston, 67 in Skokie, 68 at O'Hare, 60 in Chicago downtown, and 68 at Midway International Airport. For our 5-day forecast, tomorrow it'll be sunny, 66 as a high. Likewise on Thursday, a high of 66, sunny. Then on Friday, we will have a more summer-like day with a high of 78 degrees, partly cloudy. Then on Saturday, we will go down with a high of 65, cloudy. Then on Sunday, pay close attention to the winds. We will go up to 8 to 18 mile per hour winds, and it will remain cloudy as well. That is it for today's weather.
That's what I like to hear. Emmanuel, thanks for the update, and we look forward to your future coverage.
And while the weather is nice, it might be a good time to watch some field hockey. NNN's Anna Kasani was out there on the field yesterday as the team won 2 back-to-back wins.
While most Wildcats are readjusting to the start of school, field hockey student athletes are mid-season with 12 consecutive wins.
It feels really good. We're a really hard-working team. We practice how we play and just implementing our strengths in practices and working on our weaknesses and bringing that in to the game. I think it really reflects our character as individuals and together as a team.
The girls' strong season comes at no surprise.
I think we are one of the top teams here at Northwestern, and I think our games are super exciting and fun to attend.
The team's most recent wins were a 4-0 shutout against Rutgers and a season-high goal count 7-2 win against number 17 Penn State.
We really came out super strong today. It was overall a great team win. We had a bunch of different people who scored today, which shows the depth we have on our team, and honestly just great momentum going into next week now.
The Wildcats play Ivy League Harvard next on October 13th at 11 a.m.
This team, I mean, we're ranked number 2 right now in the country, but that could change any week here.
The team charges forward with high hopes.
They have potential to go pretty far in the postseason, so I think it'd be really cool if people recognize that and we're out there to support the team.
Fans can support the Cats during the next 3 upcoming field hockey games, which are all at home. From the Lakeside Field, Anna Kasani, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Annika. Tickets for home field hockey games are free for all attendees, including students. You can claim your tickets at the door or on the NU Sports website. And stay tuned after the break, a sneak peek into this year's Survivor Northwestern season. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back. Last week, Big Ten Network came to campus, hosting their Big Ten Tailgate on the Lakeville. NNN's Giovanni Contreras has more.
I think it's going to be hard, even though you're building a brand new stadium. It's going to be hard to match this lakeside experience. I mean, this is the feature of the campus, being out here on the lake, so we love it.
On Saturday, the Big Ten Tailgate came back to the Lakeville as Northwestern prepared to play the Indiana Hoosiers. Even IU fans getting caught up in the fun.
This is the most unique tailgate ever. Like, there's some more like ratchet stuff, but this thing is beautiful, wonderful. The lake right there is incredible, so big fan.
In the weeks leading up to the game, Northwestern's Lakeville was transformed with chalets, TVs, and concessions in the backdrop of Northwestern's temporary lakeside field. While Hoosiers and Wildcats enjoyed the tailgate together,
we're looking for a Northwestern victory today.
Indiana fans were looking to keep their undefeated record, and the win against Northwestern meant clinching a bowl game.
Well, we got family here with us to see the Hoosiers take on the Wildcats and hopefully get to 6-0 for the first time. I mean, we're at 5-0, which is the first time since 1967. Very exciting football.
But cheers from the Wildcat crowd and the lakeside setting were not enough. Northwestern fell to Indiana 41-24. I'll see you at the next tailgate. For Northwestern News Network, Giovanni Contreras.
Thanks, Giovanni, and go Cats!
Are you ready to cast your vote? Northwestern Survivor returns to campus with a new season. NNN's Gabriel Bernick takes us behind the scenes on the island we call Evanston.
If anyone has a hidden immunity idol and would like to play it, now would be the time to do so.
Outwit, outplay, outlast. Since 2019, students have fought tooth and nail in the reality competition show, Survivor Northwestern.
Survivor Northwestern is Northwestern's on-campus version of the reality TV show Survivor.
Medill second-year Jillian Moore clawed her way to victory in the 6th season of the show titled Garden of Temptation, taking out 15 of her competitors through a series of challenges.
Literally sometimes mentally or physically exhausting, and you just have to push through to help your team win. You had to do it if you wanted to win, and I love to win, so that was it was definitely challenging but fun.
Although production filmed 7 seasons of the show, only season 1 finished airing. Season 2 premiered at the end of August.
We're working on pretty much every season, so we're hoping to get out a bunch of seasons this year. Fingers crossed, we say it all the time, but now we're actually making progress and releasing season 2.
Outside the competition, Survivor Northwestern regularly hosts watch parties of the American show live. Members have made close friends over the years.
We have classes and we have our real life, since we have the ability to step away from the game when it's too much, which I think allowed us to, really become friends and stay friends despite how intense the game would get sometimes.
Blurring the lines between competition and camaraderie. Gabriel Bernick, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Gabriel. The contestant application for Season 8 is linked in the Survivor Northwestern Instagram bio. The show will commence filming winter quarter and finish in early spring. That's all we have for you tonight. Thank you for joining us for our first show of the year. I'm Aria Wozniak.
And I'm Ellie Skelly. From all of us here at NN, have a good night. We'll see you next week.